Ever wondered what happens to all those brand new cars that just don't sell? The answer will blow your mind. From dealership lots packed with unsold inventory to secretive auctions and shocking losses, the journey of unsold cars is one of the automotive world's best kept secrets. What happens to these vehicles when no one buys them? Do they get scrapped, repurposed, or sent overseas? Could you score a hidden deal, or is there more to the story? Stick around to uncover the surprising truth that could change the way you think about car shopping forever. What's happening? Every dealership lot looks like a car enthusiast's paradise, but behind the gleaming rows of vehicles lies a growing crisis that's reshaping the auto industry. What happens when the cars don't sell? Dealerships across the United States are filling up with more inventory than ever, with dozens, even hundreds of vehicles stacked on their lots. The question arises, what happens when these cars don't find a buyer? It's easy to assume that every car eventually sells, but the reality is much more complicated. The problem begins with the way dealerships receive their vehicles. Most new car dealers operate on a turn and earn system, meaning they receive fresh inventory from manufacturers based on how quickly they sell their existing stock. If sales stagnate, it disrupts this delicate system. Dealers still want to maintain their flow of new cars, so they're forced to find creative and sometimes desperate ways to clear out older inventory. What makes this situation even more pressing is that the vehicles sitting idle aren't just wasting space. They're costing dealerships real money every single day, and that's where the challenges really begin. But if sitting inventory is such a burden, why don't dealerships simply lower prices and move the cars faster? Cost of holding inventory. Each unsold car on a lot isn't just a parked vehicle, it's a financial ticking time bomb. When you see rows of unsold cars sitting at a dealership, it's easy to think they're just waiting for the right buyer. But behind the scenes, those cars are accumulating costs for the dealership. Unlike small-scale car owners, dealerships don't pay outright for their inventory. Instead, they use a system called a floor plan, a form of financing where they essentially borrow the cars from manufacturers or banks, with interest accruing on each vehicle over time. Every car on a dealership's lot adds to their financial burden. The longer a car sits unsold, the more interest it accrues. Imagine financing hundreds of cars at once, each day increasing the total amount owed. This is why dealerships feel immense pressure to move vehicles quickly, yet many are still hesitant to slash prices. Adding to this financial strain are other costs associated with maintaining these cars. Vehicles require periodic maintenance to stay presentable, which means regular cleaning, charging the battery, and ensuring the tires don't deflate. For some models, this upkeep can become a significant expense over time, especially if the car sits for several months or even years. The financial impact isn't limited to the dealership's bottom line either. Manufacturers are also affected when their cars stagnate at retail locations. They rely on dealerships to push out inventory so they can sustain production. But when unsold vehicles pile up, it creates a bottleneck in the supply chain. So if costs keep rising for dealerships, why don't they just cut their losses and lower prices to clear the lot? Why prices don't drop easily. If slashing prices seems like the obvious solution, why do dealerships resist doing it? While it may seem logical for dealerships to lower prices to attract buyers, the reality is far more complex. One of the biggest obstacles is something called price perception. When a dealership heavily discounts a car, it risks sending the wrong signal to potential buyers. A major price drop might make customers question the quality of the vehicle, assuming there's something wrong with it. Additionally, lowering the price of one car can have a ripple effect on the rest of the inventory. If a customer sees a steeply discounted truck, they're less likely to pay full price for a similar model sitting next to it. Dealerships also operate under strict guidelines from manufacturers regarding pricing. Many brands impose rules that prevent dealers from advertising prices below a certain threshold, often the invoice price, the amount the dealer paid for the car. These rules are meant to protect brand value and prevent dealerships from undercutting each other. However, they also tie the hands of dealers, forcing them to hold on to aging inventory rather than take a loss. Another factor is dealer profit strategy. Some dealerships prioritize profit per vehicle over overall volume. Rather than selling more cars at a lower margin, they aim to maximize the profit from each sale. This approach can work in a booming market, but in slower times, it often leads to cars sitting unsold for months. There's also an element of stubbornness. Some dealers hold out hope that the market will rebound, allowing them to sell at their desired price. But this strategy often backfires, leaving them with cars that lose value as they age. If dealerships won't lower prices and cars keep piling up, what happens to these vehicles as time goes on? The aging inventory dilemma. Believe it or not, some brand new cars on dealership lots have already celebrated multiple birthdays. In an ideal world, cars are sold quickly after arriving at the dealership, but that's not always the case. Some vehicles linger for months, even years, before finding a buyer. Known as aging inventory, these cars become increasingly difficult to sell over time. Buyers tend to gravitate toward the latest models, and a car that's been sitting for a year or more can feel outdated, even if it's technically still new. For dealerships, aging inventory is a double-edged sword. Not only does it tie up valuable space and resources, but it also depreciates over time. A 2-year-old car, even if it's never been driven, will often sell for less than a brand new model fresh off the truck. This depreciation hits dealerships hard, cutting into their potential profits. To combat this, some dealers attempt creative solutions. They may move aging inventory into loaner fleets for service customers, or mark them as demo vehicles, giving the impression that they're being actively used. Others will sell these cars to smaller dealerships or send them to auction, where they'll likely fetch a fraction of their original price. Aging inventory is also a growing issue for manufacturers. When unsold cars accumulate, it forces automakers to slow production or offer incentives to encourage sales. This creates a ripple effect throughout the industry, impacting everyone from assembly line workers to suppliers. So what happens when dealerships have exhausted all their options and cars still remain unsold? The first line of defense: dealer discounts. Why don't dealerships just cut their losses and offer steep discounts to clear their inventory? The answer reveals a complex balancing act between profit and perception. When faced with excess inventory, dealerships often consider lowering prices as their first strategy. On the surface, this seems like the most logical approach. Cheaper cars should sell faster, right? However, the reality is far more nuanced. The act of discounting vehicles, while seemingly straightforward, has profound implications for both the dealership and the broader automotive market. The first concern is brand image. For manufacturers, pricing is about more than just selling a car. It's about maintaining the perceived value of their brand. If a dealership slashes prices on a specific model, it can devalue the entire line of vehicles. Potential buyers may start to believe that the discounted car is defective or undesirable, even if it's perfectly fine. This perception can ripple through the market, impacting future sales. Additionally, dealerships operate under pricing restrictions imposed by manufacturers. These agreements often limit how much a dealer can lower a vehicle's price, especially when advertising discounts publicly. This policy is intended to prevent price wars between dealerships that could undermine the brand's overall value. But for dealerships burdened with aging inventory, these restrictions make it difficult to clear cars quickly without facing penalties or losing their allocation for new models. Then there's the issue of profit margins. Many dealerships are reluctant to discount their vehicles too steeply because it directly impacts their bottom line. While the cost of holding inventory does add up, some dealers would rather take their chances and wait for a more favorable market than sell a car at a loss. This strategy can work in certain cases, but it often backfires when market conditions worsen, leaving dealerships stuck with even more aging inventory. But when discounts aren't enough, or when they're restricted by manufacturers, what other options do dealerships have for moving unsold vehicles? Moving inventory through dealer swaps. Sometimes, the key to selling a car isn't about finding the right buyer, it's about finding the right dealer. When a dealership struggles to sell a specific model, one of their next options is to engage in dealer swaps. This strategy involves transferring unsold vehicles from one dealership to another, often within the same franchise network. For example, if a Jeep dealership in a rural area has too many high-end models that don't appeal to their local market, they might trade them to a dealership in a metropolitan area where demand for luxury vehicles is higher. Dealer swaps offer several advantages. First, they allow dealerships to tailor their inventory to the preferences of their local customer base. By exchanging vehicles that aren't selling for ones that might have a better chance, dealerships can improve their sales potential without incurring significant costs. Second, dealer swaps help manufacturers maintain a steady flow of inventory across their network. This ensures that all dealerships have a balanced mix of vehicles, reducing the risk of stagnation. And despite these challenges, dealer swaps remain a common common practice in the automotive industry. They represent a collaborative effort to manage inventory and keep the system moving, even in difficult market conditions. While dealer swaps can help redistribute inventory, what happens when a car simply refuses to sell, no matter where it's located? Turning cars into loaner vehicles. Ever wondered why some dealership loaner cars feel brand new? They might be part of a clever strategy to deal with unsold inventory. For vehicles that linger too long on dealership lots, some dealers choose to repurpose them as loaner vehicles. These cars are provided to customers who need temporary transportation, while their own vehicles are being serviced. By moving unsold inventory into their loaner fleet, dealerships can achieve several goals simultaneously. First, this strategy helps dealerships reduce the financial burden of aging inventory. Loaner cars are still technically part of the dealership's assets, but they're actively being used, which offsets some of the costs associated with sitting idle. Additionally, using unsold cars as loaners allows dealerships to introduce these vehicles to potential buyers in a hands-on way. Customers who drive a loaner car for a few days may develop an attachment to it, increasing the likelihood of a sale. Another benefit is that dealerships can report these vehicles as sold to the manufacturer, even though they remain in the loaner fleet. This helps dealerships maintain their allocation of new models, ensuring they receive fresh inventory to replace the cars they've moved into the loaner program. Once these vehicles have served their purpose, dealerships can sell them as slightly used models, often at a reduced price. Of course, this strategy has its limitations. Loaner fleets are only so large, and dealerships can't move all their unsold inventory into this category. Furthermore, once a car has been used as a loaner, it loses its new status, which can impact its resale value. Despite these drawbacks, this approach remains a popular way for dealerships to manage their inventory creatively. But what happens when even loaner programs can't absorb the growing stockpile of unsold cars? The auction route, a last resort. When all else fails, unsold cars are sent to a place where prices plummet and competition is fierce, the auction house. For dealerships that can't sell their aging inventory through traditional means, auto auctions represent a final option. These events, held both in person and online, allow dealerships to offload their unsold vehicles to other dealers, used car lots, or even wholesale buyers. While this might sound like an effective solution, it often comes at a steep cost. At auctions, cars typically sell for wholesale prices, which are significantly lower than retail. This means dealerships are unlikely to recoup their investment, especially if the vehicle has been sitting for a long time and has depreciated in value. Additionally, selling at auction eliminates the possibility of earning profit from add-ons like extended warranties, financing plans, or service packages, key revenue streams for dealerships. Despite these downsides, auctions play a crucial role in the automotive ecosystem. They provide a safety valve for dealerships that need to free up space and reduce their financial liabilities. Auctions also help redistribute inventory to regions where demand might be higher, giving unsold cars a second chance to find a buyer. However, sending cars to auction can have broader implications for the market. An influx of vehicles at auction can drive down wholesale prices, which in turn impacts the value of trade-ins and used cars. This creates a ripple effect that affects dealerships, manufacturers, and consumers alike. As auctions help clear out excess inventory, the question remains, how do these unsold cars influence the overall health of the automotive market? Impact on dealership profits. When cars sit unsold, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a financial ticking time bomb for dealerships. Unsold cars are more than just a storage issue. They represent a significant financial liability for dealerships. Most dealers don't own the cars outright. Instead, they rely on financing arrangements known as floor plans. Under these plans, dealerships essentially borrow the cars from manufacturers or financial institutions, paying interest on the vehicles for as long as they remain on the lot. Each day a car sits unsold, the cost of carrying it rises. This mounting expense pressures dealers to make tough decisions. Should they hold out for a profitable sale, or should they cut their losses and sell the vehicle at or below cost? Both choices have risks. Holding out too long could lead to further depreciation, while selling at a loss erodes the dealership's profitability. Over time, high levels of unsold inventory can push some dealers to the brink of financial collapse, especially smaller dealerships without deep financial reserves. Unsold inventory doesn't just impact dealership profitability, it also strains relationships with manufacturers. Dealers are expected to meet certain sales targets to maintain their allocations of new vehicles. Falling short of these targets can lead to fewer deliveries of high-demand models, further compounding the dealership's struggles. But the financial stress on dealerships is just the beginning. Unsold cars have a ripple effect that touches every corner of the economy. The manufacturer's dilemma. Unsold cars don't just sit on dealer lots. They create a massive logistical challenge for automakers. For manufacturers, unsold vehicles are a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they signify a strong production capacity, but on the other, they point to a mismatch between supply and demand. Automakers operate on tight production schedules, and unsold inventory can disrupt this delicate balance. When dealerships can't move cars, manufacturers are forced to slow down production to prevent further oversupply. This often means temporary factory shutdowns, reduced shifts, and even layoffs. These actions have a cascading effect, impacting the workers who build the cars, the suppliers who provide parts, and the communities that rely on these jobs. Moreover, unsold cars can tarnish a manufacturer's reputation. Excess inventory signals to the market that a particular model isn't in demand, which can hurt future sales. To combat this, manufacturers may offer incentives like rebates, low-interest financing, or lease deals to boost demand. While these incentives can help clear inventory, they also cut into profits, creating a challenging balancing act. While manufacturers and dealerships grapple with financial losses, the broader automotive market faces its own set of challenges due to unsold inventory, market distortion, and depreciation. Ever wonder why some cars lose value faster than others? The answer often lies in unsold inventory. The sheer volume of unsold cars has a profound impact on the used car market. When dealerships and manufacturers flood the market with incentives to clear out old inventory, it drives down the prices of similar models in the used car market. For example, a new car being heavily discounted to move off a dealer's lot can suddenly make a slightly used version of the same car less appealing. Why pay almost the same for a used car when a new one is just a bit more expensive? This dynamic accelerates depreciation for certain models, which can frustrate existing car owners. For buyers who finance their vehicles, rapid depreciation can lead to an upside-down loan situation, where they owe more on the car than it's worth. This creates a ripple effect, making it harder for consumers to trade in or sell their vehicles and potentially discouraging future purchases. The effects extend to leasing as well. When residual values drop due to market distortion, lease prices often rise to compensate, making leasing less attractive for consumers. This in turn impacts manufacturers who rely on leasing as a key sales channel. While market distortion affects consumers and dealerships alike, the environmental implications of unsold cars add another layer of complexity. The environmental cost of excess inventory. Have you ever thought about the environmental toll of unsold cars? It's a hidden consequence of overproduction. The environmental impact of unsold cars is often overlooked, but it's a significant issue. Manufacturing a car requires a vast amount of resources, including raw materials, energy, and water. When these vehicles sit idle, their environmental footprint grows heavier. Cars that remain unsold for extended periods often need additional maintenance, such as battery replacements or tire changes, which further consumes resources. In some cases, manufacturers are forced to scrap unsold vehicles, especially if they are outdated models or if regulations prevent them from being sold after a certain period. Scrapping cars that have never been driven is a tremendous waste, negating the environmental efforts many automakers claim to prioritize. Furthermore, excess inventory contributes to increased emissions during transport and storage. Moving unsold cars between dealerships to auctions or even to storage facilities consumes fuel and generates carbon dioxide. Storage lots for unsold cars also take up valuable land and can contribute to urban sprawl, further exacerbating environmental challenges. While the environmental impact of unsold cars raises questions about sustainability, could technology and innovation provide solutions to this growing problem? Creative sales strategies by dealerships. When traditional sales methods fail, dealerships get creative, sometimes in ways you'd never expect. To move unsold cars, dealerships often turn to unconventional sales strategies. One common method is the use of flash sales or end-of-month blowouts. These events are designed to clear inventory quickly by offering significant discounts for a limited time. By creating urgency, dealerships can attract buyers who might have been hesitant or waiting for better deals. Another tactic is bundling. Dealerships may offer additional perks such as extended warranties, free maintenance packages, or complimentary accessories like floor mats and window tints to sweeten the deal. These extras can make the purchase feel more valuable, even if the price hasn't been heavily discounted. Trade-in promotions are another popular strategy. By offering above-market value for a customer's trade-in, dealerships can entice buyers to upgrade to a new car. While this may cut into profits, it helps reduce the dealership's unsold inventory and keeps their floor plan costs in check. Dealerships have also begun utilizing social media and digital platforms to target buyers directly. Platforms like Facebook Marketplace, Instagram ads, and even TikTok videos are now being used to showcase cars and special offers. This modern approach allows dealerships to reach a younger, tech-savvy audience that prefers online shopping over in-person visits. But as dealerships innovate to move their inventory, manufacturers are also exploring groundbreaking solutions to address the issue at its core. Automakers adapting to the challenge. When faced with a growing inventory problem, manufacturers are forced to rethink their approach to production and distribution. Manufacturers have long relied on a production model that emphasizes volume, but unsold inventory has pushed them to explore more efficient systems. One solution gaining traction is build-to-order manufacturing. Instead of producing vehicles en masse, automakers are offering customers the ability to order customized cars directly from the factory. This reduces the number of vehicles sitting unsold on dealer lots, while also aligning production with actual demand. Another strategy is the introduction of flexible production lines. By designing factories that can quickly switch between different models or even different types of vehicles, manufacturers can adapt to changing market demands more efficiently. For instance, a sudden spike in demand for electric vehicles can be met without overproducing gas-powered cars that may end up unsold. Manufacturers are also utilizing data analytics to predict demand more accurately. By analyzing trends in consumer behavior, regional preferences, and economic factors, automakers can adjust production levels and avoid overstocking specific models. While these strategies help manage unsold inventory, there's another frontier that could redefine how we think about unused vehicles altogether. Reimagining the role of unsold cars. What if unsold cars didn't just sit idle but were repurposed for entirely new uses? Some manufacturers and dealerships are exploring innovative ways to repurpose unsold vehicles. One promising idea is integrating them into ride-sharing fleets. Companies like Uber and Lyft often lease vehicles to their drivers, and unsold cars could provide a ready-made supply for these programs. This not only helps clear inventory but also generates revenue through leasing arrangements. Another concept gaining traction is using unsold vehicles for car-sharing services. Platforms like Zipcar or Turo could benefit from having access to newer, unsold models, offering users a premium driving experience without the commitment of ownership. In addition, unsold vehicles are being donated for community programs or educational purposes. Automotive training schools, for example, use these cars to teach students about vehicle mechanics and technology. While this doesn't generate immediate revenue, it builds goodwill and showcases a brand's commitment to community support. Some automakers are even experimenting with converting unsold cars into mobile workstations or recreational vehicles. By modifying vehicles to serve niche purposes, like mobile offices, delivery vans, or even pop-up retail spaces, they can find a new lease on life and avoid being scrapped prematurely. While reimagining the role of unsold cars is an exciting prospect, the future may hold even more transformative solutions. The future of unsold cars in a sustainable world. In the race towards sustainability, unsold cars may play a pivotal role in reshaping the automotive industry. As the industry embraces sustainability, unsold cars are becoming part of larger conversations about waste reduction and resource optimization. For example, some manufacturers are exploring the possibility of recycling unsold vehicles directly at the factory. Instead of shipping cars to dealerships, unsold inventory could be dismantled and reused for parts, saving raw materials and reducing waste. Electric vehicles present another opportunity. Batteries from unsold EVs can be repurposed for energy storage solutions such as powering homes or businesses. This aligns with the growing push for renewable energy and highlights the versatility of EV technology. Another forward-thinking idea is the integration of blockchain technology to track and manage unsold inventory. Blockchain could provide real-time data on vehicle location, condition, and market demand, allowing manufacturers and dealerships to make smarter decisions about distribution and pricing. These futuristic concepts not only address the problem of unsold inventory, but also push the automotive industry toward a more innovative and sustainable future. The journey of unsold cars reveals the challenges and creativity of an industry in constant evolution. But what does this mean for the consumer? Unsold cars represent more than just a logistical challenge. They're a window into the complexities of the modern car market. What do you think of these innovative solutions? Would you consider driving an unsold car through a subscription service or rideshare program? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.